to open this event, which is really rather special because we have two wonderful speakers and teachers who are going to share their experience with us today. So I'm just going to introduce our first speaker, and that is Lemoni, who's a lecturer at TU Dublin and also a very active chamber musician and pianist. So, Catherina.
Hello everybody. Today I'm going to talk about piano concerti for the young piano students, especially the junior students who would like to practice a piano concerto. So I was thinking, when I do my lessons, actually, is how to introduce a piano concerto to them and how to teach them this piano concerto. It's after these past years, I really created a kind of method that I could really teach the piano concerto to them. It's what I'm going to show you here today. And in a way, I think the student always enjoys his period of teaching in a way. And I have to say myself too, I don't watch my watch because I'm enjoying as well the time with them. And I try to find solutions to the problems, and because for me it works, but then they have to learn, they have to develop all these technical issues, memory issues, how they can improve that, analysis. What can I say else? It's just the different styles of the different concerti that I will try to approach today. So what I'm going to do, I will start, perhaps you have you online the first page of a piano concerto that I love. I played myself and I love to teach, is the Bach F minor piano concerto. It was written for cembalo, obviously, at that time. It's in F minor. So the first thing I ask them, do you know what is that scale? And especially because we teach them, when I know that in the syllabus we have the F minor scale, that's the concerto with your F minor scale, and you have to know how to play, so they can just play once the F minor scale, and then we can sing just the very start. And then what I do, I call it medical prescription. I really write in their notebook what they have to practice for the next time, for example. And I say at the very end of this page, you are going to practice just one bar. What is this bar? Is this. So it's always the same pattern. Then it goes higher and higher, and different. So they have to know that. And what I do as well, themselves, they have to write fingering down on each note. And that is something really important, always play with the same fingering. And I have music that I was playing myself when I was really much younger than my age now. And you can see that on every note, it's the fingering written, on every note. And that was it. I have to stick with that fingering for all my life, even now. So then another thing that I thought when I was doing this piano concerto, I was thinking of a method that I was using myself with stickers for very, very beginners. And actually, I think it was T.U. Dublin, a teacher who did this method, piano method, with stickers, so you could have patterns, and each pattern was a sticker, an apple pattern, or the banana apple. So myself, I use a lot the signs, so the squares, circles, triangles. I had a little girl, I did a heart. So then I wrote down, you are going to practice all the hearts in your music. She was so happy with all the hearts. So now I have a square here. That's it, with all the fingering, even the left, and the articulation. And I said to them, don't forget at that time, try to understand that it was a harpsichord in a way. It wasn't a romantic piano that we have. So you really need to do this articulation. Then another square the following week. Okay, now you know that this concerto is in F minor, but you have, sorry, suddenly we are going to C major with a Mi natural as well, and a D natural and an E natural. So for this week, you do this, and then you do this as well. Then, the following week, another square. G major. Again and again, we do it a lot. And then I have the circles. The circles are these little patterns here at the very start of the concerto. And then this one as well. And what do we have here? I introduced the ornament. Again, I had a little girl and I said, what are the ornaments? And she couldn't say to me. And I said, oh, you have nice earrings. That's it. That's the earrings in the for the music. So that's it. Instead of having this, you have earrings. So, and that's for the whole movement. It takes a little bit longer at the start, but then they just, like an airplane, they just, woo, they go. And then when they realize it, so it becomes easy for them. And they just learn it by themselves. Now, then at the very end, I introduced the introduction of that concerto. The articulation. I always do two and then staccato. The bass. Bass. And then so they can do the left and then the little circle. And then they can try to do everything. So it's really with the little spoon, little things at the time. But then after, I can assure you that after a couple of months, or even 3 months later, they know the concerto. They know the analysis, they know in which key they are, where they go. It's really incredible, and they write. They know how. They learn how to write fingering by themselves. Because normally, at the early age, the teacher just writes the fingering down all the time. But I prefer when they do it because they understand better. Oh yeah, here's the third, here's the second, here's. They understand more how it works, the hands on the piano. So that's really what I like. And in a way, I mean, the second piano, it's not far away from the first piano. So if you have good students, they can play together, actually. And they can practice together, and that makes them improve then musically. Then I'm talking as well about the orchestration. Do you know if one day you will play this concerto with orchestra? What are the instruments that they're going to play with you? So this is a string really orchestra. This is very, very small orchestra. You have violin 1, violin 2, a viola, and a continuo, we say. So in a way, what is the continuo? It's an accompaniment line. In general, it's a bass, so we always use the cello for this kind of group. And so it improves really, it's a base for the harmony as well. And in general, it's the same with the left hand of the piano. Exactly, so here these 4 first bars, it's exactly the left hand of the piano. Exactly this. So if you have a little group as well, I was thinking, why not for chamber music, and you have a little group so they can practice the left, it's good for them, and the cello, why not? So that's one of the concertos that I like really to practice with a student. Then another one that I really like to practice, and I play that quite a lot, and I love it. It's the Haydn piano concerto in D major. It's a great concerto for a student, and I have to say I have already a couple of ones that I started this year after their exam. They wanted to learn it because it's so nice. So no, the first time I started this piano concerto, I bought a method, Peters. Okay, it's a good method for the second piano, but then I realized that they have this instead of this. So I realized that the edition was very thick with a lot of notes, and I knew that, I mean, at that time, the piano players, they would never play something like that. Or even when you have hands together, the same thing, no. So I was thinking, and I asked my teacher, is that a good method? And he said, no way, Catherina, you have to have these little books. That's really I don't know if I pronounce really well. I don't know how you pronounce this edition. Eulenburg? Yeah. So, and you have the orchestration as well, and you know exactly what is going on. Okay, it's small, but you can, with the printers now and all the laptops and things, we can do that bigger. But I practiced here, and I remember so the first part of the concerto. So I had a student, oh yeah, that's nice, I have this. Then I said to him, this is the accompaniment. And this is like a little harp there, and we have to hear all the notes. And then he was playing like that, because he was a little boy actually, 10 years old. And I said, okay, when you are going to sing this, how you are going to sing it? And he said to me, he sang, and he sang it really nicely. And I said to him, but do exactly the same when you play it. So it's to do with the phrasing. So you go somewhere. And then you have skirts. Like a reverence. And then I was talking with the wigs that they had at that time with the curly hair. They couldn't move too fast. So deep. So you have to be very theatrical, I think, with them. So they're going to enjoy more. And then what I did as well, I introduced. We changed the key. Where is that? Yeah, here we have the B minor suddenly. Suddenly it becomes a little bit sad. So at that age, they really understand to be happy with the majors, to be sad with the minors. And here it's another place. It's really sad. And then and again the reverence. B minor, and then happy again. So they understand better with the sad and happy as well. Then I had a student, this part here. He was trying this. And after a while, I could see he was really stiff. So I said to him, okay, I'm going to play it. Touch my wrist. And he said to me, oh, but it's so soft. Yeah, but it's the way it has to be. So how you are going to improve? You can't be that you can't play like that. After 3 or 4 bars, your wrist is going to be stiff, your hand is going to be stiff, and then you can't play anymore. So and what I was doing myself as well, I was practicing with a chair. So the chair, and now I don't have it, and then a pillow here, and I was like that. I was relaxing while I was doing this. He came the following week, and he was flying. I mean, he was very relaxed, and I couldn't believe. And the mom was there as well, and she said to me, yeah, I mean, he took a chair. I didn't know what to start. He was looking for pillows. And then he put the pillows there. And he was playing and practicing. And after a while, he could really play it. Then we just realized, yeah, but with your left hand, what is the orchestra doing, actually? So, when he starts this, that's the bass, the cello. Then you have violin, second violin, and and violas that they do this in a minor way. Then you have the first violin doing, and actually it's the left hand. Then second violin. Then first violin. Second violin. So if you realize that, then in your head you have the sound of the instruments, and then the cello. Then the cello is here. Sorry, I'm not sure where my hands are going. So when you realize that, it becomes really like a game to play and to practice. Yeah, I think that's it. And you have a lot of these even. And here. And the orchestra does exactly the same thing. So you have to really have the orchestra do the same thing as you. So you have the shaping, crescendo, and decrescendo. So in a way, you can sing the orchestra while the student is playing, and I can assure you that they're going to love this way of doing, and you have to be very theatrical and to introduce the orchestration, where we go, the way to practice. And it's true that the medical prescription, it works, because then they know how to practice, and every day I do that. Day one, you do this bar. Day two, this bar, and what you need to do with these bars. And then they said, yeah, I don't see really my time going, because I mean, I don't have enough time to do what I need to do, because I understood that they don't know the way to practice. And that's very important, I think, for every program or repertoire, even the solo pieces, not only the piano concertos that I'm showing you today. So another piano concerto that I would like to show today, it's one concerto I think that everybody loves, and everybody does. I think once in his life, it's the Mozart A major concerto, casual 488. That's it. I'm sure that you did that in your life. It's an amazing work. So here, the way to practice this, you have a lot of open down notes and semi-quivers, and I'm telling them, yeah, think like the roller coaster, you know, when the trains, they go up and down, so you have to think of that, and your hands are going up and down on the piano, so it's the same thing. And how to practice these semi-quivers. I had a teacher, and he was always telling me it has to be, especially the classic style, it has to be very sparkling. And I wouldn't understand what sparkling means. So that means that the semi-quivers have to be equal, and like that. And the way to practice, actually, he made me practice staccato. Haydn and Mozart, even it was really essential to practice like that. And now I'm saying piano. And then it's going to be very sparkling, and every note will be very equal and steady. So that's for the Mozart as well. Then we introduce here the cadenza. So what is a cadenza for them? I said to them, you know, you play with orchestra, and suddenly the orchestra, they don't play anymore. They just wait for you. The conductor, he doesn't count, he doesn't, count or beats the beats. So it's up to you to show to the public, to the whole orchestra, to the conductor, I'm here, I'm the solo player. So you have to do something with this cadenza. It's really a solo part that you can show. And this is quite a very famous cadenza of the K488. I mean, you know that. And then here, so here, what is this called? Because I know we always, in the syllabus for the theater, we always do the diminished 7 chords, and they don't really understand. So this is a way, now you have it. And suddenly they said to me, now I understand why we have this in the syllabus. Yes, you can find in the music, you have this. And then a dissonance. What is a dissonance? They in the music here. You can enjoy the dissonance here. Now you have a scale going up, and you have to arrive here. So from there, you arrive there. Another diminished 7 chord, and you have to know exactly where the tone is going to be. When you know where the thumb is going to be, you are fine with this little scale going, because they were afraid of that scale. I remember saying, oh my God, it's a big scale, how can I do it? Where is your thumb going? Now you have it, and you can practice even like that. Then this. Then backward. Then even longer and longer all the time. And then you have these. What is going on? The rests. The rests are part of the music. So this is something that you can introduce as well. So you finish here. That's the cadenza, because everybody is going to listen to you. And then what do you have? An F major and with a big pedal there, they can enjoy the pedal and hear the acoustic of the church. It's phenomenal. You can have these. And here you have the major chord as well. So that's for the cadenzas, really little things at the time. You can practice the student for 1 week. And then do it a little bit faster and a little bit faster. Enjoy the pedal. enjoy the resonance. And I always say, imagine that you are playing in the concert hall. People who are at the very back, they have to hear you. If you are shy, walking up here and play, they won't hear you at all. So you have really to project the sound. Then I like to do the second movement as well. It's an adagio in a sharp minor, and I mean, you know, this is really nice. What I say to them, you have just a little melody, and it has to sound really. We have to hear you, and again at the very back, and you are just by yourself. Nothing is going on in the orchestra here. In the second movement, so the poor pianist is there, the full orchestra, the conductor, the public. So just breathe. You have to put weight because we don't have the vibrato like the string players. Oh, they can really sing. We have just a little notes what we're going to do, so it's really the weight that will help. Again, the rests, very important. And I mean, you have this, and what I like to introduce is one delicate analysis here, the interrupt cadence, because they never know that, and then they realize, oh, that's the interrupt cadence, and I say, yes, that's it, you found it. Then you have the slurs. And then G major, and you go somewhere. Because sometimes they just play, but you have to go somewhere. Oops. And they realize suddenly, oh yeah, I was expecting to have but suddenly it's so nice. And I said to them, enjoy every harmony, every note that you can have in your piece in general, actually. So that's another concerto. I don't know. I'm talking. I had things here written, but I don't know. I don't use them. I don't know what I'm talking about. No, that's okay. Then I was wondering, and then I had a help from a colleague as well. To find some easier concerti for very, very, very young piano players. And one is Martha Meir, it's a composer, a lady. And she composed a concertino, and I like the title because in general we say, oh, concerto, and this is concertino. So what is the difference? So it's a small concerto, but we have the three movements again, And what I like as well is in jazz styles. When they hear jazz, they really like the sound. Oh, it's a jazzy piece, so I can show off. And then you have little titles here: the Blue Light Special, Starlight Jazz, strolling along the boardwalk. So I'm going to do actually the Starlight Jazz, which is the second movement, and you have these. So these, and it's in A minor, so even the little ones, I think this is for very, very, very young people. I think grade 1, grade 2 could easily do it. And you have the A minor here. And the other piano, A minor as well. And then you introduce the pedal. They can practice together the pedal with the left. And then the way to change the pedal, actually, on the note, you do this. So you have, and here the second piano. So you change every time the pedal. They enjoy really the pedal. And then you have E major as well. So that's the dominant of the E minor. So little analysis things that they start to learn and they realize better in a way. And then somebody told me as well, oh, now I understand better what I was doing in the musicianship class, because they had all this information, but they didn't understand why. And then you have at the very end, it's bar 11, 12, 13. What does that mean? Left hand, L-H, left hand. So that means that, whoop, for the first time they do a crossing there. And the second piano, what is he doing? And then one octave low. So all these, it's completely new for them. So you have to show them little things at the time. Then another thing that I spot in this concertino, it's the very last movement, the third movement, the last page. It's written coda. So sometimes they don't know what coda means. Obviously, I mean, it's in Italian. We know that coda is the tail. I say it's the tail of a dog. What does it mean? It's the end of the piece, and then you have DC al coda. So that means da capo al coda. So what da capo means? So you have to go at the capo is the head, the start of this movement again. Sorry. That's very nice. And then the second page, it's written, you can really read to coda. So this sign here, you go directly there then. And then you have unison. They don't know what that age, because they are very small. What is the unison? Both hands have exactly the same. Exactly the same thing, and then you have it's a very jazzy ending there, and then the other piano, the second piano, has a tremolo. So what is a tremolo? They learn that. I always say it's an electric shock, and I so and then they realize. So we do that in chamber music as well. So they have to communicate a lot with the head and the breathing as well. And what is quite interesting here is that you have one octave higher and one octave lower. So higher for the right, lower for the left. But it's exactly the same. The way to write is exactly the same notes, but one octave higher. So that's the end of the tremolo. So then another concerto that again my colleague showed me, and I think it's another lady, Jean Williams, in A minor again. It's a very famous key, and you have the three movements again. So traditional three movements: allegro con brio, what does it mean? Largo, what does it mean? And what I found very interesting, alla tarantella, what does it mean? Because you have a lot of pieces. La tarantella, it's an Italian dance, and a lot of people don't know that. And in 6/8, and sometimes I mean, I did a lesson recently with this, and so suddenly, and I say, hop, it's really the dance, the tarantella, and I stand up and I just jump myself so they understand, and it's hop, it's really the tarantella. In a way, it's the very last page, I think. It's written alla tarantella, and you have these. So, and you have the pedal as well on every chord. That. And then the 6/8. It's going like that, round and round. And you have 1, 5, 1, 5. That's the harmony, and they understand the chord. And we do little cadences for the exams, and they understand better now the cadences, because we always have the tonic, the dominant, with a little 7, and then the first again. So that's why we have, and they say to me, oh, now we understand all these cadences. We didn't know why we have to do them. And I said to them, that's why, because it's the accompaniment. It's very, very important. And then this is D minor of the A minor. It's the 4th with the D minor chord. And then again E minor, A minor, E major sudden. So all these you have to explain to them. Then at this page, I could see that they have unison, 2 hands doing exactly the same thing, and even the second piano does exactly the same. So that means that the orchestra does as well exactly the same thing. And then the orchestra, A minor, that's your concerto. And you have 1, 5, 1, 5, 1, 5 all the time. At the end, so they realize. I do that now because I remember once I was thinking and thinking. I had a girl. She finished her piece. She was, I think, in E major or something. It was a Greek piece. And she did a final and she finished in a completely wrong key and it didn't sound well. And I said to her, do you think you finished right? She said to me, no, it's weird. Yeah, it's weird because you're in E major and you finished I don't know where. You have to finish in E major if you started in E major. So that I find that that's really important to know where to understand the key of the piece, where they start, where they finish. So, yeah, so now it's up to you really to think of other concerti, and actually even the more difficult concerti. I had a boy, I mean, he's only 14 and he wanted to do the Grieg piano concerto. And I said to him, oh my God, Grieg, are you sure? It's really difficult. Then I start to do bits and pieces here and there, like what I showed you now. He can play the Grieg piano concerto now, and he's so happy. I can see every time in his lesson. I remember the first time I could play only because he has good octaves. I could play really the start, but then it was really difficult. But I did little sections at the time of these kind of methods, just to that they have to realize what they are doing. And that's the main thing. They are going to have fun. The teacher is going to have fun. That's one main thing that we always forget. If I'm not having fun with a student, I start to think, oh my God, what did I do wrong? I have to improve something, or the student has to interact with me and to be happy, and I have to be happy as well. So that's the main thing. I think it's a collaboration and try to be good, to feel good, student and teacher. So I think I hope you enjoyed my talking. I talked really a lot. Thank you very much.
Very pleased to have you today with us today. Sure. Thank you.
So I'm just thanking Ed for having me today here, and thank you very much for coming and listening. I just to introduce myself, as also I teach in TW Dublin, and I have been here almost 40 years now, teaching different levels, beginners, intermediate, and third level students. And what I really always enjoy in piano teaching especially is trying to achieve a high pianism in students, no matter what age. And just in the last probably 15 years or so, I have been lucky to get many talented students who are, even though they're younger, they're ahead of their age and their experience in musical talent and musical ability. And in a way, I have kind of learned, to deal with this sort of, this kind of ability more in the last, as I said, last 10 or 15 years. In TU Dublin, for instance, we have auditions, and in a way, we're lucky. So we get, mostly students who are, more dedicated probably, and have parents who are also more supportive, and also the level could be probably higher than average. So as I said, I have had now a good number of students who are very young, but can perform advanced pieces, and actually very well, and it is amazing, you know, because like we always think, oh, somebody who's young, you know, is not that they actually are more able than the older students, and they can. One can, you know, teach very advanced level to younger students. The problem probably with younger students is that some of them are very small and maybe the hands are not that big, but that can be overcome. You know, that can, you know, one can, try to find solutions for this sort of. So the students who are quite advanced at a young age, I think, you know, they get frustrated if the teacher doesn't realize their potential, and they either leave you, or you know, they're just not achieving what they are able for. So I find that you know, when I came here, the syllabus was a great thing because I came. I studied in Austria, and there was no such thing as syllabus or exam board or anything like that there. You just had to, when I was teaching there, I had to just think, okay, what is the student able for? I never thought of really as of level. Of course, I mean, I knew that, for instance, younger student can't play such and such piece, you know, but you had to just think for yourself and think, like, how am I going to, what pieces am I going to introduce the student to? Or for instance, of course, scales and so on are very important, all the technical, things that you have to teach to a student. But as I said, there was no real syllabus, you know, so when I came here, I found that having a syllabus was a great help. It's, it really introduced me to, you know, levels and, okay, I have to first go through this level to get to this level and so on and so forth. And the problem I found then was that the syllabus was a bit limiting, you know? So if somebody is more advanced or is able for more advanced, you know, and they're only 8, for instance, or 9, okay, you can't kind of, you know, in a way it was as if it was, you know, they have to be at level 3 or grade 3 or grade 4, you know. So in a way then I just felt that, okay, with these talented students or those who are faster, you have to just, accelerate the curriculum. And also you have to enrich the curriculum. And in a way, again, I'm lucky to be teaching in a place that I can do that because we don't have to stick to a certain syllabus in TUW, but what we have to do is that if you're teaching at, like if you're introducing a student at grade 6 level to an exam, they have to be at, the piece has to be at least at that level, can't be lower than that level. But it can be much higher, you know, you're not limited in that aspect. Also, I found that giftedness or talentedness is not fixed. You know, that you have a student, for instance, who is very quick and very nimble, you know, and very coordinated, great motor skills, but not necessarily very musical, or doesn't know really how to listen. Or, and also vice versa, you have a student who's very musical, but has a lot of issues with, you know, not knowing how to interpret the piece properly because they're limited in their motor skills, in their technique. So I have made, you know, note here saying that. So, for instance, how to plan like a repertoire or, you know, pieces and technique and so on and so forth for every type of student, and also, I mean, strengthening their, showing off their strengths, but also strengthening their weaknesses. You know, if you know what I mean. So I have made this list here, and I have actually gone to as early as beginner, I mean complete beginner. For instance, let's say if you're using the method, a tutor, like me and my piano, just as an example. I mean, I'm not saying you should be, but just because I have used that tutor often. I would, with a student, I would try to actually go through the first two books in 1 year, in 2 terms. And maybe not doing everything in both books, but to get the gist of the two, books in 1 year. And to organize also technique, like a dozen a day mini book, for instance. With dozen a day, I think it's very good. It's a great starting technique book, but I don't go beyond book 2. I think that it's just the same thing over and over and over, and I think there are other things that one can do to be more helpful. So, and then after that, then the books like Keyboard Anthology or Classics to Moderns, because they have, students don't have to buy too many books, and you don't have to, get them to copy this and that, So sometimes, these books are very useful because they have a good selection at that level. What I would like to talk about is technique. Okay, like for instance, how do I go about teaching students who are, let's say, have been only playing 1 year piano. Okay, so I've written here, I would teach the fundamentals, legato, staccato, and then the lateral movement through Hanon number 1. I find that's very, very good, starting exercise, because it's very repetitive. So you're just playing the same thing in different keys, but you don't have to think about reading. So you only concentrate on movements. So I think Hanon number 1 also. I introduced this lateral movement, this side-to-side movement, which is very important, because I think if you don't do this, you're going to be kind of tense, and your arm. I remember actually as a child doing Hanon, and my arm would be falling off, near the end. So that's because I wasn't using the lateral movement. Okay, so. So with legato playing, I can also show it here. I don't have to go down here. So I would make sure that we talk about legato playing. And legato playing, I think, is more important than one thinks about lifting the fingers, and not so much about dropping the fingers. So the lifting is very important, and to keep the fingers, away from the keys, and not kind of resting the fingers on the keys. So, like that. So the arm is here when we're playing with the thumb, and then as we progress to the 5th finger, the elbow and the forearm moves to the right, and then backwards again. Okay, so this is lateral movement, which is, I really think, incredibly important, and everybody has to learn this. And it doesn't stop ever. You just learn this, and it goes on and on and on to every, hard, difficult, advanced piece or whatever. So with the legato, and then with staccato again, this lateral movement, but with staccato, as actually the Catherina was saying, this kind of pinching, or pulling from a sort of a more flatter position. In legato, we have more curved hand position, but in staccato it's a more flat hand position. So again, sometimes with younger students, it helps if you just say, "Oh, the keys are hot," and they do actually feel that, yeah. So this kind of thing sometimes help, when you get them to think of an action. So this is really the most fundamental thing I think in the piano technique. After that, I would say finger independence and how to strengthen the fingers. For instance, in a dozen a day, you have exercises where you hold the thumb down and then you play maybe 3 times with the second finger, then again the same thing with the third finger, and so on and so on. These are excellent for the start. They could do that every day, just holding the thumb down, and it does help to strengthen their hand. But then I move on to Little Krishna. It has exercises again where you're holding fingers and then you're playing with the other fingers. But I've actually made up my own exercise, and I just asked them, look, you can even do it in the car when you're bored, on your lap. You can do it on the kitchen table. You don't have to always sit at the piano and do these exercises. Of course, it's better if you can do it at the piano. But the same idea again, of holding, for instance, the thumb is holding down one key, and then the other fingers. This can be gone for 3-4 times, and then you do it with the second finger. But it's much harder. And the third finger. Fourth finger. When you teach that, I will, like let's say 9 out of 10 students will find holding down the third finger and doing that very difficult, and the fourth nearly impossible. So what do you do? Then I would suggest that you just do the same exercise, hold down the third finger, and do a seesaw with the fingers below and above. And then extend that to 3 notes. Then extend it to 4 notes. And usually after a few weeks, you do see that there is definitely an improvement in the strength, and also the other thing is that I find always the students when they, again, this is a very common problem with the thumb. The thumb, I always call the thumb the troublemaker, because if the thumb is working properly, the other fingers are going to be working properly too. But most of the times, if you ask where is the movement from your thumb, where is that coming from? They say, here, here, and so no, it's here. You're lifting from here and you're dropping from here. So that's one thing, that has to be strengthened, yeah. And the other thing is that the thumb needs to fall on the edge of the fingernail, and very often it's here. I have done that, I think, up to my 20s or 21st, until somebody told me this, that this is, you're not using your thumb properly. So this is really very, very important, this lifting the thumb and dropping it in the right way. And if you do that, your scales are going to improve. And anything to do with arpeggios or anything like that is going to improve. I think these independence exercises also improve the thumb, and also the fact that very often you see this kind of fingers all bent, because the fingers are not strong, So you have to obviously constantly insist that the end of the finger has to be strong, But it does help, if you keep doing that with, I also practice always like that. To move on from that and to go to more sort of more difficult exercises, there's better exercises in tankard. I have the list of the finger exercises at the back. Actually, everything in this list is kind of according to all the pieces I have written. They get gradually more difficult. It's kind of So pieces for. So the finger exercises, as I said, a dozen a day, mini book 1, book 2, then Hanon, and they can practice obviously other exercises also of Hanon, not just number 1. But I just think it's always very good to have just one exercise that you always do, rather than constantly learning new ones because you're reading. It involves reading. It doesn't involve just the movement, So I'm just trying to kind of make this very, very simple, for students that they can do Hanon number 1 for legato, for staccato, for lateral, and they can do these ones I showed you for independence. So, you've done all your exercises nearly in one day, in 10 minutes or, very, very short time. Little Krishna is very good. Tankard is very good. And then Philip, this is he was a professor in the Paris Conservatoire, Exercises for Independence of the Fingers by I. Philip there. They are based on a pattern of diminished seventh chord, So, there are 2 books actually, just on this one pattern, So it's great. Also, the exercises I just showed, for the independence, they can be also done with 2 fingers holding and 3 playing. Or, and you can change with some 3rd finger, some 4th finger, and then these other fingers, So you can make up your own exercises. You can, but the most important is that there's, a finger is held and the others are played. And this lateral movement, is just always for relaxation because fingers have to be active, but the arm has to always support and always has to help. So then, let's say, we're in the 2nd year of piano playing, and we're doing very well, and we progress to kind of short pieces, something like, for instance, the Old French Song by Tchaikovsky. So, the students could learn like so just the first phrase. Very often, I don't know if you've come across this as well. Students they play fine, and then until they come to these long notes, yeah? So the long notes have to be treated differently. The long notes need the arm weight, yeah? If the arm weight is not there, this tone is dry. Unfortunately, you can't do anything about it, it's just the piano is like that, So unless you like this type of tone, you have to do something about it. So you have to, imagine that you're sitting into a nice sofa, or you're just, this movement has to be taught. Yeah, if you want cantabile singing, So I would say, for instance, a good exercise for that would be with one finger to do a scale, like for instance C major scale. And sometimes they find, students find it difficult actually. So it's the arm arm weight, and then also this thing that the elbow is kind of is moving like an O, a circular movement. So but the movement's only from here and back to here. It never goes this way. So it's just this, okay, this O, okay? Because very often, when I say move your arm, they go in this way, I said, no, always away from the arm. The body, never close to the body. So, and then we did this type of piece, then pedal can be introduced. It's harder with this piece because it's occasional pedal, it's not constant. Yeah. So this book I always use Michael Aaron piano course. This is grade 2, but there's also a grade 1. But in these two, there are two pieces that I think I teach everyone. They all have learned these two pieces. There's a piece called Dreamland, which has the melody in the left hand. So right hand has to be quieter and so on and so forth. But the pedaling, it's this kind of continuous pedaling. So you can just teach it with the left hand alone. And then lift, press, hold. You just, I think, I always say, you're pedaling with the left hand, so that, that makes it a bit easier. You're not thinking, oh, what's right hand. So once you know how to pedal with your left hand in this piece, it's no problem to do it with both hands. So. So I have been, practicing with students so often, just on getting them to, get used to this movement, for singing. Okay. This is a very useful piece, this Dreamland, and the other one is Sunrise, which is broken chords. So. The first experience of, for young students of pedal. And again, if they learn this properly, you have learned pedaling for life properly, in a way. I mean, of course, it has to be constantly reintroduced and, this pedal didn't go well here or there. But once the foundation is right, you don't have that much, later on to worry about. And so these two pieces I always, as I said, I do. And here I say, well, you're pedaling with the first beat of the bar. And very often, there was actually one student, which is funny, because just this student could not get pedaling, no matter how much I tried, and we went on and did these two pieces, I was kind of beginning to, I think I left them actually as something. I said, we do something else, like we come back to it. And so, just sometimes, with the student, it's just what you say, it makes such a difference. For instance, I used to say change pedal. And I don't think the student understood what change means, So one day I said lift. And that was the break, the lifting of the, just lift, then the student could do it, So, I don't know, I mean, everybody has these things, you just don't know how to get always through to certain students. Um, the other piece, for instance, I like very much for, this is like here, it is in grade 4, but I've seen it actually in grade 2, I think was an associated board. This is, sometimes this is another thing, the syllabuses differ so much in levels as well. This is called Blues in 2, and it's by Mike Cornick. And again, the pedal, it's very good here because it's continuous. I find that if the students like the pieces, they practice more and they enjoy it. As Catherina was saying, if they enjoy it, you enjoy it, then happy, everybody's happy, happy family. So, Blues in 2, very useful, Mike Cornick. I've spoken about Old Friend song. Then after this, you could move on to Sweet Dreams by Tchaikovsky, so you are already, first you learn obviously without pedal, but then, you can. Here, the difficulty is the balancing. The balancing is, you have to keep the chords quieter. That is that's a difficult. These are difficult techniques. But honestly, they almost all manage to do it. It just needs a little bit of time and a little bit more patience. I suppose, if somebody finds it difficult to play, just to break it down into hand separate playing. And trying to, doesn't matter if it's too loud at the start, like the bass line is too loud, but maybe exaggerating and then, trying to finally find the happy medium, Sweet Dreams, and at the same time, Chopin preludes, number 4 and number 6. Number 4 is, I think the B minor, E minor is number 4, number 6 is B minor, yeah. And B minor is the left hand, and the other one, number 4, is the right hand, has the melody. And again, the balancing, pedal, all these movements, the movement that I was talking, again, this is something more complicated, but the same, same problems you're dealing with. And this piece, a melody, Opus 10, number 5 by Massena, I came across that in Associated Board, grade 5. Beautiful piece. It's left hand actually has the melody and right hand has the accompaniment. Kabalevsky, that's one composer I think, he knows so well what he's doing with younger students especially. So the 24 little pieces, let's say at grade 1, you don't know what to teach or whatever. I think after the tutors, I go really with this piece, a little scherzo. It's really fun. Just 5-finger composition. So. It's very good for staccato, fun. The other thing is that it's short, and also I also have to talk about this. How do we plan? For example, how do I plan teaching a piece? Even for instance, when I said the tutor, some people don't move as fast. Okay, some teachers don't like to move as fast, but what I do at the beginning is I don't really bother too much with too much detail. I try to keep it very simple. Notes, counting, and then I may say, okay, try this and try that with the movements. but I don't really go into too much dynamics and too much, sound and this sort of thing at the start, just to keep things easier. And the same thing I apply to teaching a piece. When I'm teaching a piece, I ask them to learn the notes, make sure that the counting is correct. Fingering, as Katrina said as well, from the very, very beginning, the same finger, not changing, not chopping and changing, because that only confuses the student. So they just get used to this thing. Once they're over this sight reading stage, I would call it, then it's off by heart. Because I think it's very important to internalize a piece of music, especially if it's fast piece. Because you just don't have that much time to think, So you just try to make this your own. I actually, myself, I experienced, this concert I went to a concert, it was not here in Ireland, but in Austria, and it was a traditional music concert. And the level of virtuosity, I was just, amazed by it. And I was thinking, how come they can, do this so easily, Then I was thinking, well, one thing they don't have to do is they don't have to read. They don't have, they have something less to do, because the piano playing is so, I don't know, it's intellectual, it's physical, it's emotional, there's so many things, so many aspects are involved in playing an instrument. But when it's only, if you learn it orally, as actually, again, Katrina was saying, you learn it in small sections, and you learn that section very well. Then you learn another bit, and then you think, oh, I've learned very little, but in a short time, maybe in 2 months or whatever, oh, you have, half of the big piece learned, Now I'm talking about even like a 10-year-old maybe playing Arensky etude by, which is a very difficult piece. But this way of teaching, it makes it easier to manage for, I think, for anybody really, because you don't, you're not dealing with pages and pages and pages. You just learn a shorter section very well, and once you've done that, you add on another section and another section. And especially with younger students, they can, they're much more able to, retain things, So when you see, I started playing the piano at age 8, and then I was teaching at age 8 Arensky to a girl, And I was thinking that she's playing at a diploma level where I hadn't even started at this stage, So you can't go by your own experience. You have to just, these are individuals, they're unique. Each of them has a, ability that is unique, So you just have to adjust yourself to their ability, and not so much yourself. Of course, you need to know the pieces really very, very well. Whatever you're teaching, you have to research and have played it, not necessarily on on the stage, but you have to know what you're talking about, so that the message is very, very clear from the beginning, so that they don't get confused, and you're not wasting time later on trying to change things around, But this thing of small sections and then just putting them all slowly together very much helps. And then what I think after learning off by heart, then I start saying, okay, but this part, that could be, like the artistic thing, then comes into it, because they know it. Okay, that's easy now. I can do this more legato, or I can do it more piano, I can make this more forte, but they have to know it, in order to be able to, to be confident to add these extra sort of musical and artistic things. Okay, so that's I think is very, very important. Yeah, I was talking. So this section, the teaching pedal and cantate playing, as I said, it's gradual, and the pieces that I have in brackets are the easier ones in the books. Like for instance, Fugue Nocturnes number 5 or number 10 are easier than the others. Like once they have done these, they can move on to the other. Or Chopin Nocturne, there's a short C minor Chopin Nocturne. I don't know if many people teach it. Like, it's not very well known, but like I think it's a great one for starting, you know, or even the, you know, opus posthumous, the C sharp minors, also equally good. Liszt, for instance, these are all intermediate level. I mean, we are not really into advanced as such yet. You know, the Consolation number 3, 5, there's a beautiful romance in E minor by Liszt, really beautiful piece. I've come across Nocturno by Manuel de Falla. That's kind of grade 8, you know. So that would be probably the hardest of that list. And then alongside with those, you know, I have them, you know, in, as I said, Kabalevsky, 24 little pieces, a little scherzo, dance, hopping, the clan in that order, for instance. At the same level would be Arabesque by Burgmüller, Wild Horseman by Schumann, Album for the Young, or Ballade by Burgmüller. They're all pieces that students really enjoy, and you know, and they come on to very well. Kabalevsky, Opus 27, having fun. This is like repeated notes, you know. So you have. So here we have having fun. Yeah. So you have. It's a great exercise for learning repeated notes, and it's not difficult. I mean, that could be taught with grade 2 easily, I think. Yeah. And then let's say you want to go on to something more difficult. There's the Bear Dance by Bartók. It's a great piece. It's all repeated notes. So again, repeated notes. What is repeated note? It's just staccato playing. So you have taught how to do staccato. So you just do it in repeated notes, and repeated notes, the fingering has to be usually changed. So if it's 3 notes, we go with 3, 2, 1. If it's 4, 3, 2, maybe if it's 4 notes, 4, 3, 2, 1, you know. And if you've done this and the Bartók, and then later on there's this. The Scarlatti, the D minor. It's difficult, but you know, if you know how to do repeated notes, they're all just the same. You know, it's not, you know, none of them introduces anything else but repeated notes. So, and then if you have done that, you do Alvarado del Grazioso. Again, you have repeated notes. So again, you know, it's nothing too different. You know, again, the same thing the same with glissandos. You know, like. I like pieces that have glissandos because, you know, I mean, I'm not talking just about, but students just like, you know, this thing of like, you know, this type of thing. Especially if you're young, you know, you like to do that kind of thing. And if you know how to do glissando, you're not afraid, because sometimes, you know, people are afraid of doing glissando. So you just know, just do it, and you know. So if you can do glissando in an easy piece, for instance, like the piece I have mentioned here later on in Etude Allegro by Nakada, the Japanese composer, you know, has glissando. So if you can do glissando here, you can do glissando in other pieces like, you know, Liszt, the Etude La Chasse, you know, the Paganini Etudes, or you can do glissando. What else has glissando? I mean, in so many pieces you have glissando. Again, Alvarado has double glissandos, you know, but then you're not afraid of something like that, you know. If you have done it and you have played in a concert glissando, you're not going to be afraid of that in a, you know, bigger, more complicated piece, you know. There is, as I just want to go through this, I think Kabalevsky again, Opus 27, having fun, Toccatina, the etude, you know, for nimbleness, and the scale passages, sonatina, they're all great. There's one piece in that book called Novelette, that is in the cantabile playing. It's just such a beautiful piece, but also it's so mature, you know, it's like, you know, it's very sad, and I don't know, like, it's for a child, you know, like, but there are not that many more advanced pieces that are, you know, in that kind of mature, emotionally piece. I mean, these are miniatures really, but I mean, if you can play that, you can play, you know, no problem with Chopin nocturnes, you know, as for emotional value, you know, I find that it's the same almost. Yeah, I mean, I have, for instance, as I said, for instance, this is also a very good piece, Galop Final by Casella. You know, it's fast and fun. If I have it here. Here's I think it's grade 6. Yeah, that again, these are ancient examples. So, Casella is near the end. So it's like again, scattered. I haven't come across anybody who hasn't liked this piece, you know. So it's great, and it's very good for staccato playing at the end with a big, huge chord. This one is the Nakada I was talking to you about, Japanese festival. It's a full book, and then I see the allegros at the end, and then very good, great piece because it's fast at the start. And in the middle is the cantabile in A flat major. And so on and so forth. And then at the end you have this it's great fun, you know, you can splash out the, you know, glissando. So these are, I would say, you know, for instance, also Flood Time by Eric Haydn was a grade 5 in Associated for many years ago. L'Orage is a study by Burgmüller. Very good. At the moment, I have, for instance, 9-year-old, 8-year-old playing this, no problem. You know, so that it can be taught to younger students. You know, to Gallup Final also, and Chopin minute ones. I taught somebody last year, you know, and actually one of my students had played it at age 5, Chopin. She wasn't my student at the time, but she had played it, and I thought, okay, well, she could play that 5, you know, so maybe I can try it with somebody at 8 or 9, you know, and it did actually work. But you just, as I said, you just have to be a bit more, a bit slower at the start, and then it takes off with playing. Spartacus by Carl Wein is a very good piece. It's in this. It's a Trinity repertoire library, 20th century repertoire. So these are about grade 7 pieces, grade 7. Some of them are easier, but Spartacus isn't that by Carl Wein. And then, once you have kind of gone over this kind of intermediate and high intermediate, then you can introduce, I would say, advanced pieces and for virtuosity and cantabile playing. So Debussy Arabesque number 1 and number 2, two different types of pieces. Jardin sous la pluie, I have tried teaching a few of my students and it has worked, yeah, young students. Also Prelude from Pour le Piano, Debussy. Autumn by Cécile Chaminade is a great piece. It starts slowly and then it's like storm, and then again, it goes back to, music, very kind of cantabile. Also I've discovered this composer, Ukrainian composer, Isaac Berkovich. I mean, I didn't know him until a few years ago. But these two pieces especially I really enjoy, and I find that they can manage very well, especially with like toccata. I mean, two of my students, like very young, 9, 8, and so on, manage it. And it's, honestly, I have to sit down and practice it properly. But they can manage and they can play so fast, And I kind of think, my God, like, how can they play so fast? I have to practice hard, to get it. But once they can, play something, they mightn't understand everything, But they just, I don't know, they learn it, and as I say, it's just internalized, and then, the speed and so on becomes no problem, So toccata is great piece, fast chords, and then in the middle is slow, it's like a nocturne, back to fast. Massenet toccata is a very good piece, just difficult, it's again, it's not chordal, but more broken chord oriented. And this piece I came across, Mashkovsky Etincelle. It's very virtuoso actually, and Etincelle means sparks, so it really sparks. And again, it's a great piece for teaching virtuosity, and also alongside with that, then Chopin nocturnes, Liszt etudes. I've tried Chopin impromptus 1 and 4 often. Then this piece, Arensky Etude, Opus 25, number 3 on a Chinese theme. It's a great piece, difficult, like, just like all finger, this kind of thing, but also the movement, the movement is really important, this lateral movement. If you're teaching classical period, obviously starting then with maybe some of Beethoven, the two sonatinas, G and F major, but also Clementi sonatinas, opus 36, 37, 38, Hula sonatinas, opus 20, 55, 88. And then I have the Haydn, the third movement by Haydn I find very useful, because the first movements sometimes are very tricky rhythmically, and then you're spending so much time on triplets and this and that, trying to, and sometimes they don't really enjoy it so much. But the third movements of these sonatas, the earlier ones, because Haydn used them for teaching the earlier sonatas, are very sparkling and very very useful. Now, one thing that happens very often in classical period is the rotary movement, more than anything else, because you have the Alberti bass very often in the classical, and you also have a lot of trills in classical, and you have sometimes tremolos, so these all need rotary movement. It's not, lateral movement would be no use for any of that, So, for instance, as an example, I just go back to, because this is also type of, So, rotary movement, as the way we are made, our arms are this way, and then when we want to play the piano, we have to turn our arms this way. So it's the forearm movement. And this is actually the rotary movement, okay? So when you're playing something like you need this rotary movement, you know, it's not alone, it's hard. It makes this movement much easier. So again, your arm doesn't get tired. But for instance, anything, I don't know, I can't think of the piece at the moment that, oh yeah, the Haydn exercise number 6 is very useful. So if you want to teach, I would really strongly, because again, it's easy to learn, and it teaches the rotary movement. I say sometimes a doorknob, imagine you're turning the doorknob, And if you're doing something like pathetic sonata, for instance. So, you need the rotary movement, otherwise your arm really gets tired, So tremolos, Alberti bass, another one is trill. Trill needs rotary movement. So for instance, it's a kind of mixture of the fingers plus this movement, yeah? This kind of, so as I said, I think the number 6 Haydn is very useful, and you come across it in the classical period, this movement, very often, very often. There's Mozart Sonata K545 in C. Usually one learns that as the first sonata, but also I've introduced students to K282. E flat is a beautiful slow, and all the movements are manageable for students. The G major one. And the F major. So these are kind of the ones that one could introduce as the first sonatas, and then you can go on and introduce whatever else you wish in the sonatas or concertos or whatever. I don't think there's any difference really in the techniques we use, or in they all have the same common problems. And then Beethoven, I would say Opus 49, number 1 and 2 are probably the simplest ones. And then Opus 2, number 1, Opus 10, number 1 would be kind of the next in the order, or even Opus 79. And then of the more advanced, Opus 13, Opus 27, number 2, because they love this Moonlight. And then the Tempest, Opus 31, number 2. So in order maybe of difficulty, with Bach and Baroque period, of course I introduced them to this, but I wouldn't be so, I don't know, how should I say, so sort of fussy about Baroque. What I mean is that, for instance, when I was learning, we had to have played, we had to play the, little book of a notebook for Anna Magdalena, then we would have progress to two-part inventions, and then we would have to play lots of them, and then the three-part inventions, and then the dances, French suites, and the French and the English suites, and partitas, and so on and so forth. And it was so sort of dogmatic. It was so, you have to know, you have to play this to understand polyphony, and you have to, in order to go on to prelude and fugues and so on. So, but okay, I know that inventions, two-part inventions, are easier than prelude and fugues. But honestly, I don't really think the three-part inventions are easier than the fugues. And I certainly don't think the dances, most of them, are any easier than prelude and fugues. So if somebody wants to play prelude and fugues and they are, young students, and yeah, why not? I mean, it is like a kind of grade 7, grade 8. And also sometimes I find that they don't really enjoy that much. They're not mature enough to understand Bach, because I mean, Bach is my most favorite composer, okay? But I can see this, I don't really like this. Okay, you don't like this, play something else, But then you can come back to it later and appreciate it then. Because some things, are not for really young people. It's the same as literature. I don't know, introduce somebody to very high literature at a young age, especially if they don't like it, then it becomes just a negative thing. No, introduce them when they are ready for that, And then with the prelude and fugues, I think the B flat major, it's a good one to start with. C minor, this one. G major, book 2, they like usually. D minor, book 1, they like as well, and they manage very well. And also with Scarlatti, I mean, there's 600 sonatas, and actually the syllabi are very useful in that respect, because then okay, at grade 2, but there's a Scarlatti sonata I can do, or at grade 4, So I very often, for Scarlatti, when I'm teaching somebody who is, just progressing, I would use the syllabus and say, what is on, in that grade 3, for example, there's 5 or grade 6, and then once they have played, easier Scarlattis, then they can move on to harder Scarlattis. Scarlatti is, I think, easier for younger students to understand than Bach. Bach, I find, maybe 1 or 2 of my students really appreciate Bach when they're younger. I don't know why that is, but and also, I suppose it's easier for them if they do the little preludes, which I forgot to put in the list. Two-part inventions, some of them are very easy to understand. But just as I said, with some of the dances, I mean, like there's French suite, there's Lure in French suite number 5. You have to really understand, the style, and it's very difficult, even though it looks simple on the page, but you have to really understand the style, and you have to be so much further, I think, as a, intellectually. I mean, I think, give them something that they have fun with, they learn technique, they learn how to play romantically well, or emotionally well, and then they get to this level, because it is more intellectual, it's more demanding. Yes, so I suppose that's all. Studies, I have talked, I think, about everything at this stage. The role of, the challenges that come with talented students. I think, we think it's great. I want to have as many fantastic students as well, but you have to work much harder with somebody who is quite advanced and young. You have to work very hard. I find that I give far more extra time to those kind of students than, for instance, somebody who just wants to play a little bit, grade 5 and this and that. And they're happy to. So it's quite challenging actually. You have to really prepare for every lesson and make sure that you know what you're talking about. And then the other thing is also the parents of the very talented children are also problematic. I mean, I really encourage parents to attend lessons and sit through lessons. But sometimes I find that they're talking as you are also talking to a student, and becomes distracting, and the student looking more at them than you. And but at the same time, I think their involvement is essential. It's really important that they know what's going on. So sometimes I ask them not sometimes, I say, okay, come to the last 20 minutes of the class. So then you know exactly what we've done. So that works. Another thing, actually, I don't know if other people like it or not, they actually record the lesson. So everything that I say goes home. Yeah. Some people don't like that. I don't mind, Another thing I do is if the parents are not as involved, I make lots of recordings, especially for younger students. Things that I can play. Not if it's too hard, then I send it Spotify and YouTube. But things that I can do there and then, I make a recording, and that goes home, and that helps a lot. Because they know what they're when. Yeah. So I suppose the other thing I think what we can really help as teachers with students is that to organize as many concerts as possible for them. So they play, let's say you give them a piece in September, and or maybe some of them have been working over the summer. So then in October you already have a concert for them. And make sure that most of them play. And okay, if sometimes some of the, and I usually insist on off by heart, so that they know the pieces from memory. Sometimes it doesn't go that well in the concert, but it's just part of the process, that one has to learn to to stand up, and it motivates the students, because otherwise I can't really motivate them. I keep saying the same things and it doesn't happen. For instance, even an 18-year-old just 2 weeks ago, I said, okay, we have a concert this end of this month, and then the students were supposed to play 2 pieces. No, not ready. Okay, I said, if this is not off by heart by next week, you're not playing. And funny enough, you think that it doesn't matter to somebody who's 18, yeah? But it did matter, and came back, knew the pieces the next week, So it is a motivation that you can't give unless you do organize these concerts regularly. And if they're doing exams, great. Before exams, good, 2-3 concerts before. If they're doing competitions, the same thing. If they're not doing competitions, that's okay, but they need to play in concerts. They need to perform in concerts. And that's the way I can only really think of motivating. I mean, you can motivate by giving good repertoire that they like, and also then asking them to play in concerts. I think that's all I have. I don't think I have anything else to say. Thank you very much.
Well, speaking for myself, and I presume everybody else here, I'd like to thank Shirin for a most insightful, comprehensive